12:05 in the afternoon here on 90.3 FM. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard, heard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock, with your host, Kerry Fink. And Kerry is here with his guest, and Kerry, the Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, and the host of the show. I believe is all set and ready to go. Good afternoon, Kerry.
Absolutely, John Harper. Thank you. And this is always the best part of the week. We get together at lunchtime on Wednesdays right here on 90.3 FM, WEJF. And thank you to those of you who are joining us online at wejf.net. And also to those of you who catch this as a podcast later, because we take all of the radio broadcasts and we make them available every place you get podcasts. So, people find us on iTunes, they find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you're finding a podcast. Hey, Alexa, I want to hear Helping Seniors. You'll find us there. The reason we do this is we want to educate, inform, and connect seniors to resources that are going to make a difference for them as we travel our journey through the years. Joe Steckler, our president and founder, he's the guy that created this organization. We're now moving into our 14th year of service in our community. Joe is the guy who retired from the Navy. His last command in the Navy was actually the Navy's retirement home in Gulfport, Mississippi, and he and his lovely wife, Terry, decided to make the Space Coast their retirement home so they could be near the military base right there in Satellite Beach. And Joe couldn't stay retired, so he formed the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, got all that built up. They call them the Joe's Clubs to these days. And even when he had retired from that, and I met him back, I think it was 2010 or 2011, and he said, Kerry, there's still more work to be done for seniors. We have to understand that seniors have challenges. Many seniors are fine cognitively, but they have other challenges. And there needs to be an organization that can help them on every level to navigate to the resources that are going to make a difference. So Helping Seniors for all these years has been operating the Senior Information Helpline. It's that free call that 5,450 callers were helped last year on the helpline. Free call at 321-473-7770. I'm going to say that number again. Encourage you to write this number down because many of the great things we're going to talk about on the radio today, you may want to follow up on. Maybe you won't get a chance later on to get a pencil and jot down some important numbers. So you can always give us a call at 321-473-7770. And our team, Karen, we now have a growing number of volunteers. In fact, there's an article coming out about that in the August edition of Senior Scene that you're going to want to hear about. And maybe if you have some time, you may even want to volunteer and help us in the work of helping seniors. We're 100% local to Brevard. And I think that's so important. And one of the things that Joe always felt was important because so often we see phone numbers that pop up on our TV screen and they talk to us. You see somebody famous that you liked on TV and they tell you, call this 800 number and they're going to help you with Medicare, or they're going to help you find a place for mom or dad, or they're going to help you with a reverse mortgage, or they're going to help you with whatever. The problem is they're not local. So they're going to look on a computer screen just like you might try if you did your own internet search, and they're going to try to guide you from, 1,000 miles away or whatever. Whereas one of the things that Joe wanted to do was put together resources, people who are here in the community with us, so that when you need something, you're not only going to get expert help, but you're going to get people who understand what's going on in the community. That's why I'm so excited about this show. We're actually going to call it Just Keeping It Real, because I thought it was fun how we have 3 topics that we're going to try to get into today. We have with us today Karem Sapp, who is community outreach with a wonderful organization called ClinCloud. They are located in Viera. I guess you're also in Orlando, but you guys are really local to this community and helping really find a path towards so many medical breakthroughs in our community. Welcome, Karem.
Thank you for having us. I've been here before, and I was looking forward to returning. So thanks for having us, Kerry.
This is exciting. And so we're going to call the part of the show that we do with you Real Research. And this is exciting. You want to stay tuned for this. There is I think it's kind of revolutionary. It's a breakthrough kind of thing. But it's like a program that is free. And in about 10 minutes, you're going to be able to kind of get some guidance on where you are on memory scale, because you guys are so famous for doing a lot of the work that's really going to make the difference for generations to come as we get through some of these challenges people have with memory and a lot of other medical conditions that you guys are really invested in.
Yes, our mission truly is to guide, to educate, and to empower our community. And so, how better than to be able to meet you right where you're at? We're not only encouraging the community to come to our clinic, which is located on 7000 Spyglass, but we're also out there at helping seniors and at Joe's Club. We're part of your resource.
Yes.
We have community events and we have our providers coming out to the community and educating prevention and the way that we can live a healthier lifestyle. So that's a part of our mission, and providing those resources to our community like we're going to speak of today in the comforts of your home, in the comforts of your quiet space is really breakthrough.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. So please stay tuned for that. This is exciting. It's revolutionary. We're going to put up some QR codes on our social media page because this is a resource I think is really going to be helpful. So we're going to come back and talk. That's the part of the program we're going to call Real Research. The other part of the program today, I'm so excited about this because remember I was just talking about how important it is that you have somebody who's local. When you look for help in a particular area, you want to make sure that you not only you have somebody who's local, but has a lot of experience in what they do. So the second part of our program today, Keeping It Real, is going to be real estate. And I'm so excited to introduce you. You might have already read his article, was in the July edition of the Senior Scene magazine because we publish our newsletter in the center section. You did a great article about hurricane preparation and understanding how it can impact your real estate. And we've got another article coming up, Why Buy or Sell or Invest Now. And that's what we're actually going to talk about as we talk about real estate. But I want to introduce you to Mark Gallegos, who is with Real Broker. How are you today, Mark?
I'm great and happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
I am so excited that you're here because we were talking just before we got on the air. I was asking you a little bit. I said, so this is not your first rodeo. You have been involved in real estate. And you were saying, yes, for something like 40 years. And I was really fascinated to know, not only do you understand real estate from a Florida perspective, because you've been down in the extreme south of Florida, but now have been working and helping us in Brevard County for some time. But literally, globally, your experience goes.
I am fortunate, and Miami and South Florida and all of Florida seems to be attracting people from everywhere. As I tell people so often, all roads lead to Florida. And the languages that you need to speak in this community reflect the demographics that are approaching and taking over the United States and the demand that comes with it. The state of Florida has a net increase of over 1,200 people per day. The demand for real estate is huge. Yeah. Now we have to match it with the supply.
Yeah, it's exciting because I was just seeing a statistic, and you're probably closer ear to the ground than even I am on this, but I heard that now we're over 23 million people in our state. Does that sound right?
We're over 23 million people in this state.
I keep saying one of the reasons that I believe our charity, the Helping Seniors of Brevard charity, is so important is because I say there's three parts to this equation. There's just more seniors. Anytime when Joe started this, he was very much ahead of time. Right? He said we've got to do this. And think about it, this was 14 years ago that he was saying we got to do more for seniors. Since then, we see several things happening. Number one, more people are turning 65 than have ever. It's the baby boomers, right? And they're all becoming seniors. So all these things we talk about are even more important. Number two, people are just living. It wasn't so long ago that you would tune into a morning national news show and they would salute somebody on their 100th birthday, right? Because they would stop down the entire news broadcast and salute, Miss So-and-so of, Joliet, and would celebrate her for a moment on national TV. Now, when I talk to people who are working with seniors in our community, almost everybody's in home health care, working with assisted livings, or even a lot of seniors. We just had a program at the Senior Resource Center where Jennifer Barton with Seniors Helping Seniors brought in a lady who was 100 years old and talking about us. And if you hadn't told me she was 100, I never would have guessed. So you have people living longer. But the third thing, Mark, is what you talked about, is that more and more people are choosing Florida as a state to reside in. And so it's just growing that way too. So everything that Helping Seniors is doing is so important. So we're going to talk about real research, real estate, and the third thing, we're going to save some time toward the end of the program. We're going to talk about real fun, because we have a big fundraiser happening Saturday. So we're going to if it's okay with you, Mark, can we begin with the real estate conversation? I really want to kind of get you to give us some guidance. You know, we see all these news reports. We're never sure what's going on. Are interest rates up or down? Is this the time I should buy? Is this the time I should sell? How do we start to make those choices? Or how do you advise people that you're talking to, like now is a good time, or maybe wait, or what? How do you talk to us?
Very often, as I work with buyers and sellers every day across Brevard, but across the state, and having lived prior to living in Florida, in Washington, D.C.,
oh, wow.
with good friends in different parts of the country. I'm originally from New Mexico. I have a great resource of people there. I lived in Phoenix.
Wow.
People are moving from California to Florida,
yeah,
because it is a wonderful, warm environment.
Yeah.
The demand for the real estate is huge.
Yeah.
The supply, likewise, is huge. People are listening to national statistics, national numbers, and what comes out on the sort of general macro view of the economy are interest rates.
Uh-huh.
What are interest rates going to do? A couple of years ago, people were able to buy with very low interest rates. Interest rates began to inch up and are now near 7%, which compared to 2% is huge. Compared to 10, 12, and even 20 years ago, 13, 14%, it is still a good number at 7%.
Mm-hmm.
The Fed has worked to stem the tide of inflation as much as it can. And right now, there's at the same time a crush on jobs, job availability, and wages. The population must have the wages, the resources to be able to buy.
Yeah.
What the market seems to be doing, and as you drive through Brevard County, you'll see off of 95 and US 1 and any major highway, a multifamily unit going up, apartment buildings and condominiums. Because of that wage and price differential, people are going into rentals. They're not able to get that 20% down in order to buy. And those who borrowed earlier at lower rates are not going to release those lower rates in order to adopt a higher rate and a higher monthly cash flow hit. The demand and the supply are somewhat subject then to those interest rates.
Right.
The Fed has been criticized over the past year or 2 years for being a little bit too harsh on the economy without reducing interest rates. The moderation that the Fed has been looking for in terms of inflation is beginning to be seen, so that it's closer to 3 or less than 3% with a goal of 2%.
Right.
At the same time, the issues of supply and demand in the real estate market are stressful. The buyers and sellers, as I talk to buyers and sellers every day, seem to be holding their breath. What's going to happen next? Will there be an interest rate drop? And the national statistics, the national analysis right now is anticipating a slight drop in September, the end of the next quarter. This first and second quarter had been some anticipation in the last quarter of 23, and it didn't happen because, again, the wage and the job issues are pushing up against the interest rates and inflation issues. Those are the macro views of what people are hearing on the news. When they come down to Brevard County, then they're looking at their cost of living. They're looking at the demand. They're looking at the availability. The developers are also looking at those numbers and have concluded that multifamily construction is the approach to the market now. And as I've been involved in this for many, many years, down in Homestead and in Miami and Hialeah and Fort Lauderdale, that same sort of phase passed through there as well.
Yeah.
What happens to those multifamily units, and I was a developer at that time as well.
Wow.
So that I was buying the multifamily units
Uh-huh.
and converting them to condo.
Oh.
So that what you're seeing coming onto the market are not just rentals, but condominiums and townhouses that are at lower prices, less than $300,000. Yet the median prices in Brevard County are in the $350,000, $360,000 price range for a single family home. Some of those are $319,000, $318,000 for a condominium in Brevard. However, you're going to look at higher numbers when you look at the state, and then you're going to look at slightly different numbers when you look at the grand macro view of the nation. You compare that to the demographics and the transience and migration of people from the north. And as I said before, all roads lead to Florida.
Yeah.
So many people are moving to Florida every single day for this environment, for this lifestyle, and for what is still lower priced real estate.
You know, that was an observation I was going to ask you about, because to me, we bought our home here in literally like 1998. We weren't even living here. We were folks from up north who were down here. And I remember at the time when we bought this house, the real estate agent said, "I'm not sure," because we're in Palm Bay. So they said, "We're not sure that this is like, you're not looking like this is going to go up in 5 years." Like, no. This is like a lifetime purchase. We're just going to, so we're not really thinking like that. But I remember one of the things that was attractive about this area was beautiful homes at very affordable prices, especially compared to other areas in Florida. At least, is that still true?
It is still true. And the amount of space and square footage that you can obtain at these prices. And as seniors are moving into the state, they're retiring from other states, they're bringing their pension plans, they're bringing their IRAs down here, and they're settling in. But they're also, or we also, are planning what's happening next in our families and in the generations that are following us. So that when I'm advising buyers coming in, you say, you look at this price, you look at this interest rate, but look at your equity. Look at your net worth and what that's going to look like when you acquire that property. Just as you described, in 98, they weren't describing to you an attrition or a growth in the value over time, yet that growth in value has continued. As I represent so many buyers and sellers, I advise the buyers relative to the fear of interest rates to focus on equity and net worth.
Yes.
Because by the time you get to closing, based on the price that you entered the contract in, you're going to have a higher value, appraised value for that property, so that your income and net worth have gone up just by buying even now at these interest rates.
You know what you're talking about. One of the things I've always thought about is a challenge when you are a renter, and many of us, we don't have much choice. We just have to rent. It's just where we are financially and what the situation describes. But I've always thought if you could get into your own real estate, it has so many advantages, right? Because at a certain point, as you make your payment every month, you're doing two things. You're reducing what you owe on that property, but you're also increasing your, like you're talking about, your equity in the property. So you, in fact, are getting richer as opposed to just continuing to pay rent, which is also going to go up over time. Whereas I think if you're prudent about how you put together your real estate, maybe that's more or less a fixed cost, like the price of your loan, even if it was at a higher interest rate than the year before. Typically, most of us are looking at the fixed rate. Is that still true?
People are maybe looking at fixed rates because the variable rates are more precarious at this stage in the economic cycles. The focus again, and I think you're gathering that for the buyers, senior buyers, younger generation buyers, buyers thinking of the future, moving from the Northeast or from the Midwest to Brevard in particular, are going to be looking at their net worth.
Yeah.
Because what they're going to transfer to another generation is going to be based on that net worth. And interest rates are going to invariably fluctuate over these economic cycles. And the next trauma to the economy, we're not able to predict, but we expect there will be certainly the ups and downs in the stress to the economy.
Well, but it does seem like over time, it's kind of like when people talk about the stock market. You know, nobody can predict the stock market, but they make the argument that over time, it's always risen. You know, it may be up today and down tomorrow, but over time, the trend has been up. But it seems like the same is true with the real estate, because even though you could have, you know, little fluctuations based on interest rates or things like that, it seems like as time marches on, it's just property gets more value. I had a pastor friend of ours once say, he's like, they're building buildings, but they aren't making more land. So real estate is always going to make a lot of sense, and it seems right for that. Another question I wanted to ask you about, particularly because, especially for people that are new to Florida, we do a lot of programs with elder law attorneys, and they have explained it over and over. We've talked so many times on the radio, great folks like Bill Johnson with William A. Johnson, and he's always talked about the fact that we have some very favorable laws for homeowners if it's your homestead property, and it's like protection from creditors at the end of your life. You know, Medicare can't come back and say, well, we have to attach your hospital bill to your house. There's a lot of reasons, I think, why as a senior you want to own a property.
Exactly right. And even more so in Florida because of the homestead protections that the state of Florida provides to homeowners. The ownership of the particular property, that is buying as opposed to renting, is first to increase your net worth.
Yeah.
Second, you're having tax benefits
Yes.
from doing that. Third, you're lowering your debt and your equity to debt ratios. And you're making it easier for a transfer later on. Within the state of Florida and within the tax structure of the state of Florida, you're also getting the benefits of paying, for instance, your property tax, but being able to deduct that on your federal returns.
Absolutely.
So that you're able to recapture some of those expenses, building them into the net worth of your property with a long-term plan. But it's also the plan that so many investors use.
Yeah. We're talking with Mark Gallegos with Real Broker. We're going to come right back after the mid-show break. Give your number because I want people to know how to get in touch with you. Stay tuned because we're talking real today. We're talking real estate. We're going to be talking about real research and some real fun. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
And it's 12:34 here on 90.3 FM. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard. I'm John Harper. And we'll get the show back underway again with your host and the Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Kerry Fink. Kerry, good conversation going. Let's hear what's coming up next.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're having a great show. We're calling it today, John Harper, we're calling it Keeping It Real, right? Because we've been talking about, we're talking about three reals. We're talking about real estate, we're talking about real research, and we're going to talk about some real fun before the show's over. And so I want to welcome you back to the second half of the Helping Seniors Radio Lunch Hour. We gather every Wednesday around 12 noon right here on 90.3 FM. And the main reason that we always explain to people that this is a podcast is, let's say that you just got a chance to tune in right now. I do not want you to miss the excellent conversation that we were able to have with one of our very special guests, Mark Gallegos with Real Broker. He's a real estate expert. He helps families, seniors with real estate, whether they're selling, whether they're buying, whether they're investing. And we had a really good conversation about sort of the state of the Florida real estate market. And Mark, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and so one of the things I wanted to say is if you missed that conversation, you can always pick these up. We make sure these podcasts are available. You can go to the Helping Seniors website, helpingseniors.org. We always make sure everything is there. We also put these out on our Facebook page, Helping Seniors of Brevard, and also we have a YouTube channel. They're also available there, Helping Seniors of Brevard. And we make these as podcasts. So if you want to, you can go back and pick up the whole show and find out a little bit about the state of the Florida real estate market in our conversation with Mark. But Mark, before we got to the mid-show break, I did not get to ask you if somebody was listening to us speaking, what's a number or what's a way that they would get in touch with you? Say, I've been thinking, I heard the things you guys were talking about. I'd like to get more information or figure out, maybe what's my best move right now.
Thank you. If I can offer my phone number and email, my phone number, which I've had for, 30 years now, is 305-761-8500.
Okay.
305-761-8500. And in keeping with the real estate theme, my email address is value, REMSG, @gmail.com.
Love it. That's great. Well, thank you. And we're gonna talk some more, but I want to make sure that we leave a few minutes so that I can introduce our other very special guest, who's a longtime friend of the Helping Seniors organization. Her name is Karem Sapp, and she's Director of Community Relations with ClinCloud, which has been doing so much good research work that I think is going to lead us to great things ahead of time. I always get excited, Karem. Welcome back, by the way.
Oh, thank you for having us again.
I always get excited about these conversations because I love the fact that we were talking in the beginning of the show about how seniors, it's not really uncommon that people are living successfully and well into their 90s and 100s. I mean, we were talking about somebody the other day who's like 102, still drives around in their car every day.
It's amazing.
And I was just thinking like 10, 20 years ago, that was not common. In fact, there was a statistic I used to use that in 1900, if you turned 50, statistically you were dead just because of what life expectancy is. And the things that you are doing directly relates to life expectancy and quality of life for our seniors.
Absolutely. Quality of life is just really our goal, right? To be able to live life to the fullest and to have that health. Yeah. And a part of really having that health is looking at all our options. Yeah. And I think that, for example, research is a way to almost sometimes think about how can I prevent? Mm-hmm. How can I early diagnose? How can I slow down the process? Mm-hmm. Or how can I have a second opinion?
Right.
So all those are wonderful things that we can really process with research. Research is not just about looking at all the answers around the world, which of course is a main goal, but it's also to look within us. Mm-hmm. And I myself have been a part of research, and I found the research helped me to find an answer. So research can be that cure too. Our goal right now, looking at the senior population and some of the things that we look at in our research through ClinCloud in Viera, we're located in Viera, and we have offices in Orlando and Maitland too, is one of our resources at Helping Seniors is giving that option of a memory assessment. Yes. And talking about our memory and our goals for keeping our brains healthy. And it's not something to be afraid of. It's actually something to be empowered with. And a memory assessment is something that we need to be looking once we're 50 and better, is what I like to say, every year to 2 years. So are you looking at that memory assessment to get a baseline for every year that goes on? Mm-hmm. And, losing our keys or not being able to find something in the house is something that actually is normal. That we're going to have a little bit of that memory loss, of course. But when is that something that we need to be concerned with is why we're here. We're here to educate and give the resources to that and looking at that difference between the two.
One of the things you guys all know Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, right? So yes. Here we are, Christmas in July. But there was a line in there after Scrooge had been through his whole experience. He said, are these but shadows? Can I change this? And I think one of the things that I remember asking you about early on, Karem, was that I don't think it helps us. We use this a lot. We say, get your ducks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
We say, but we also say, don't be an ostrich. Most things that you just don't want to hear about or don't want to deal with, they're still likely to follow you, but getting ahead of that curve and having some plans is really going to help. And in fact, what I've understood is that a lot of times even getting things diagnosed earlier gives you a much longer and higher quality of life.
Absolutely. That should be part of our plan. Our plan should be to keep our bodies healthy and look at resources for our bodies and for our health. So, looking at that memory assessment is something that you can now do in the comforts of your home and in a quiet space with revolutionary things such as what we share at ClinCloud Viera. Specifically, I wanted to share about a resource today that is super new and comes with heavy hitters in the research community. This is supported by neurologists and research places such as Yale and Harvard. It's called Storyteller.
Oh, wow.
By an app called Nevoic. And ClinCloud Viera is one of the new research sites that actually helps provide this at no cost. Everything that we do is at no cost to our patients or their insurance. Everything that we do in the community is really of support and as a resource. And so when we talk about this Storyteller memory screen, let me share a little bit more about it. It is something that it's a 10-minute memory assessment. If you find at home or somewhere a quiet space that you take 10 minutes and you use our QR code or our link to the Storyteller, you're going to be able to share this through the Helping Seniors social media. So you can find it on Helping Seniors social media sites, a QR code or a link to this Storyteller. Or you can even go to our website at clincloud.com, and that will help you to find that resource. Once you find that resource, you take that 10 minutes, you're self-guided. And so we've all had where our provider asks us those 3 words or draw a clock or something, and then comes back and checks how well you recollect that. This is similar. This is sharing a story. So pretend like someone is speaking to you at the moment, and you're going to listen to 3 stories. Those stories, you're going to go back and recollect those details. It's actually kind of neat because it's like you're listening to someone speak to you, and you're telling them back what they told you. And so we find that this is something that's comfortable and that you're doing from the comforts of your home, like I shared, and that the cool cutting edge about this is that you can take this memory assessment. It's a memory evaluation. Then afterwards, you can schedule an appointment. So it's telehealth. It's free. And oh, by the way, it's with a clinician. It's with one of our providers. And you schedule it at your convenience. So what better way than to get a call from a doctor in the comforts of your home to give you those results? You don't have to go anywhere. You schedule it at your convenience. And so all these are resources and ways that you can receive your results and feel comfortable to speak in that time. You have time to receive your results from a provider, but also to be able to ask those questions. Again, and all free. All at no cost to you or your insurance.
We talk so often about this concept of when you're making an aging plan, don't stick your head in the sand. Because even as I've understood, as we talk about things, I think a lot of times we'll put off going to the doctor or doing something that we know we probably should because maybe we're a little bit afraid we want to hear something. We don't want to hear something. But yet the reality is, in all these cases, we're much better off because the advances, like we were just talking about, the advances move so fast that getting on kind of where you are today, like you've talked about it a lot, the importance of establishing a baseline is really going to help you manage every place that you're going in the future.
And not only, with memory, but with other areas that we help through clinical trials. You're not only getting those diagnostics at no cost, but you're able to also through HIPAA compliance, release that to your providers. So you're getting those studies, everything, every process, and you're sharing with your providers, with your neurologists, with your specialists, gastrologists, whatever that is, and all that diagnosis, all those baseline diagnosis is free, is at no cost.
You know, and I was going to say, and your organization is headed up by some folks here locally that are very, very well respected in the senior community. I mean, really experts.
Yes, our lead investigator and one of our founders is Dr. Rosemary Laird.
Yes.
Very well known in our community, a founder and a pillar of our community in the geriatrician space. But then we also have other providers. We have Dr. Oliveira, who is a gastroenterologist. We have Amanda Fletcher, who is a neurologist, a cognitive behavioral neurologist. And all these providers provide those services to our community. They also come out to our community and educate, like I've shared before. So it's something that research is really taking a real big leading resource of providing that nationally and locally. I personally have gone to research sites myself, like Cleveland Clinic or Mayo Clinic, but many people don't know that here in Brevard, we have resources that you can do and be a part of and be a volunteer too.
Yeah.
And it's local.
You know, that's what we were talking with Mark Gallegos earlier, too, when we were talking about the real estate. And I'm talking to you as it really ties together because Joe Steckler, our president of Founders Point, has always been, we want to deal with people locally, right? That we can sit across the table from and talk with and say, here's what's going on. What's my next step? What's the thing I can do? Whether we're talking about real estate, whether we're talking about, and this is a great way to take advantage, Karem, of some of the great work that you guys are doing, because now this is a free tool. It takes you about 10 minutes. You're in the privacy of your home. You're going to choose what you want to do with your answers. It's not like you're going to go like, I mean, it's private for the patient, right?
Absolutely. And everything that we do is not shared. It is HIPAA compliant. And you're speaking, like I've shared, with a provider, with someone from our clinic. You're not speaking to someone, outside another company. You are speaking to those who are through ClinCloud Viera. Yeah. Another great way to being able to, if you don't feel comfortable with doing this alone, let us be there for you. Yeah. Reach out to us through Helping Seniors. Call us directly.
Yes.
We have our offices here in Viera, like I shared, 7000 Spyglass Court. And we're right there in that Viera Diagnostic, that big brick building. Mm-hmm. That's where we're located. But you can call us directly at 407-680-0534, 407-680-0534, or you can find us on ClinCloudResearch.com. And when you call our offices, you're speaking to us. You're speaking to Michelle. You're speaking to one of our clinicians. And they're scheduling your appointment, oh, by the way, at your convenience. It's not something that you have to look towards months later. You're not calling an office that it's going to schedule you 3 months out. We're able to get you in the next day, that week, at your convenience. Or even, let's say we have a lot of local people who are like, well, I'm on vacation right now. That's okay. Schedule that appointment when you return, and we're about making it convenient for you.
Yeah, it's so good. So again, what I love about what we're talking about is we're keeping it real, but it's real estate local, and it's real research that is local. So if you missed any of the numbers, we're going to recap them in a minute for everybody too. But always keep in mind the Helping Seniors number, because you said, hey, I heard Kerry talking with Mark about real estate, and I really wanted to, because he intrigued me about. Give us a call. We'll get you in contact. If you, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna put this resource out that Karem Sapp with ClinCloud was just speaking about. We're gonna put that onto our Facebook. We have a Twitter. We have. I don't know that you call it Twitter anymore. Now it's just X, right? But we have that, and we have LinkedIn, and so we're going to make sure it's out there, because this is a great resource people need to know. And so with that, I'm going to pivot for a minute, and we're going to talk about the third arc. So we talked about real estate, we talked about real research, and now we're going to talk about real fun. This is the fundraiser for Helping Seniors of Brevard that's coming up on this Saturday. So here we sit on Wednesday of the week. You got Thursday. You got today, Thursday, Friday to get some tickets. Call your friends and say, we're going to meet up with our friends at Helping Seniors. We're going to be right there in the We call it Joe's Senior Resource Center. They gave us a big space on the second floor of the Omni Healthcare building. It's called the Apollo Professional Tower. It's right there downtown Melbourne, just a couple of blocks from the hospital. So we always describe it on the medical campus there, 1344 South Apollo Boulevard. And because it's a Saturday, we can take over the entire floor. So we're going to just take it over. And we asked Chef Jillian, who is a top-notch culinary master chef, and asked her if she would get a couple of her friends together, and we're calling it a Saturday afternoon sip and stroll. It's actually called Choose Your Flavor Adventure. And so it kind of loosely ties in with our car raffle, which we also called Choose Your Adventure, because our winner of the car raffle this year gets to choose from 7 great automotive selections when we pull their winning ticket on Saturday, October 27th. So to kind of get us ready for that, on Saturday, July 27th, we're doing the Choose Your Flavor Adventure. And Chef Jillian and her chefs, they huddled and they came up with this thing like, let's come up with a taste that reflects each of the cars. I know this sounds like a stretch, but you'll follow where I'm going. Like, you have a choice in the car raffle to take a Chevrolet Colorado pickup truck. So they said, let's come up with something kind of a Western flair. So they've come up with literally very tasty bison sliders. And so they're going to pair each one of the tastes, there's 7 of them total, with a tea or a smoothie or something. So you're going to be able to walk around, sample all these things. She's got, for one of the cars, she's got Japanese bulgogi, which is a wonderful dish. She's got some dishes I can't even pronounce, but they're...
The Mazda Miata.
Yes.
Smoky ice cream.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's going to be so many great tastes. And the way it works is you get a ticket. One ticket is a $45 donation to Helping Seniors. Two folks can come for $75. And listen what you get. You're going to be able to try all 7 of the sampling stations, which is a tea and or a smoothie and a special creation that Chef Jillian has come up with. You are also going to have great entertainment with Jerry Z and the company. It's a wonderful jazz combo that's going to be providing the soundtrack for this. You are actually going to be given your very own commemorative Helping Seniors chef's apron, so that as you're tasting, if you're messy like me, it doesn't matter. You're still going to be protected. But then if you're messy like me, when you get home and in the kitchen, it's going to help you there, because you can keep your apron and take it home with you. So we're just excited. This is going to be so much fun to be able to have us do. And Karem, you and ClinCloud have gotten behind us and helped us with this. Chef Jillian is just an amazing, and she's amazing because her company provides seniors with nutritious meals at home, so that, you know, if the doctor says, well, this is supposed to be my diet, I'm not supposed to have too much, she can work all that kind of stuff out. But she's worked out a great menu for us on Saturday.
Absolutely. I've seen the menu. I'm excited. And just Chef Jillian, by the way, she has extensive background. Not only, she's even been in the Disney, right?
Yes.
She's been at Disney at the Epcot Food and Wine Fest. She's competed in that way, and she's here locally with us. So to be able to just have her, and I've seen the menu, it is exciting. It is worth coming. Make sure it's 2 to 5, correct?
Yeah,
on Saturday.
We're calling it not lunch, not dinner. It's a Saturday afternoon sip and stroll. So it's kind of like a drop-in event. You come, but you can spend as much time as you like. Lots of things to sample. It's just going to be great.
And don't come alone.
No, absolutely.
Come with a friend, come with a family.
Absolutely.
And then that way you can compare it and enjoy tasting all those flavors and looking at all those cars and preparing, because I was there last year watching the big winner. And it was just so exciting to see her pick and decide on her car.
Yes.
And that is pretty much one of the biggest turnouts that we've had. I remember how big that turnout was last year for our car show, right?
It was unbelievable. There was they told us there was as many as 6,000 people out there.
There were.
And it was amazing. Mark, I wanted to get you in as you want to
be there.
You are world renowned as having you've done business all over the world, but I'm excited about, because Chef Jillian she's bringing like a real international flair to this whole thing. So what she's trying to do is take each of these cars and kind of come up with something like we said, there's a Jeep Compass in there. We call that an exploring adventure. So she came up with a menu item that fits that. We call it the elegant adventure because there's a really nice Mazda 3. It's kind of a beautiful sedan kind of car, and she wanted to come up with something that was really elegant for that. And then we have fun tastings and things, and she's really gone out of her way to put together kind of an international flavor test. So it's just if you're a foodie, this is something that I don't think people are going to want to miss.
Well, I certainly love to eat. and the first thing that comes to mind is a jalapeno for a high car.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Well, so again, how do you get a ticket for this? You can call us. Again, that number is a great number to have for all the reasons. Maybe you want to get a hold of Mark and talk about real estate. Maybe you want to get a hold of what we were talking about, this opportunity to do the free memory screening in the privacy and comfort of your own home without a bunch of people looking around at you while you're doing this. So you give us a call at the Helping Seniors number. They're going to get you connected to that, but it's also the number you can call and get your tickets. You're going to call us at 321-473-7770. I'm going to say that number one more time, 321-473-7770. And also, if you're online, you can go to helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. That's the website where you can find all of these resources, and there is a link there. You can get your tickets for Saturday as well. But it's this Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Joe's Senior Resource Center right there in Melbourne. So before we close up for today, I want to make sure that I give everybody a chance to grab a pencil. So I'm going to ask Mark Gallegos with Real Broker to once again tell us how we can reach you for real estate questions. Maybe we're buying, maybe we're selling, maybe we're interested in investing. What's the number that we get a hold of you at, sir?
Well, for your buyers and sellers and investors, my phone number, 305-761-8500. My email address, valueremsg@gmail.com.
Yeah, thank you for being here today. We were talking during the break. There are so many areas we need to expand on. We're going to have to ask you to come back and really devote really a lot of time and talk further about real estate. Karem Sapp with ClinCloud Viera. What's the best way to find out about studies that are going on and to maybe get involved in what we were just talking about, this study that you can do in the privacy of your home in 10 minutes and kind of get a baseline of where you are on the memory scale?
Wonderful. Yes, so that's ClinCloudResearch.com. We have a resource tab there. We have videos and education, and we even have an event calendar.
Oh.
So that's a great way to connect with us or call us directly at 407-680-0534, or you can find us at Helping Seniors Joe's Center there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for being part of it. I hope we'll see you guys I know we'll see you on Saturday.
I'll be there.
When we're there for the event on Saturday. It's going to be so much fun. It's called Choose Your Flavor Adventure. Again, the number to call, 321-473-7770, and we'll give you the information, all that. That's the time we have for today's Helping Seniors Radio. We will see you right back here next Wednesday and hope we see you Saturday in the meanwhile.